Alright, boys, welcome back to another Low Spec Labs. It's been a minute. We can talk about something that warms my heart, Linux. Ooh, we're back on Linux, boys. And more specifically, we're back on Proxmox. Behind me, we have my Proxmox cluster, which is a 2-node cluster that I use to run different services and different labs depending on what I want to learn. And I've recently been migrating from my setup, which was a bunch of different virtual machines and containers here, to more or less one single virtual machine, which is this portainer virtual machine here, and Docker. Why Docker? Well, if you watch my short form series, there's a lot of similarities between Docker and virtual machines and what they do, but the design and architecture of Docker differs from virtual machines. With Proxmox, you can combine the two technologies to create a, I'd say, pretty resilient virtual infrastructure. The idea is you have one virtual machine that you make highly available through Proxmox, and then you run most or all of your services on that virtual machine. I have one behind me. This is my portainer virtual machine. And inside of it, or rather, if I go to data center and I go to highly available, you'll see virtual machine 15, which is here, is up and running as expected. And I can migrate virtual machine 15 to PVE store, and I hit migrate. And while virtual machine 15 is migrating, all my Docker containers will remain up and running. Pretty cool technology. As you can see, the migration has started, and we can actually watch the migration job as it happens. It's starting to pick up steam here. Let me just hit refresh. So you can see containers are still up and running. So Docker is a container orchestration platform. It is a collection of tools that allow you to spin up container images as container instances. If you want more detail about what I'm talking about, please check out my shorts. I have cool diagrams. You know, I spent some time on it. Hold on. Looks like stuff's still completing. So before I spun up portainer and started diving deep into Docker, I used to have a bunch of different virtual machines and containers. Every container you see here used to either be one fat virtual machine or several containers to save resources. Now it's on one fat virtual machine, but running as a container. It just makes it easier to manage infrastructure-wise, because I only really have to manage this one virtual machine. The big sell for this video is actually portainer and why it's so amazing. Portainer provides a simplified management plane. Ignore the backend infra that's running it. By simplified management plane, I mean each one of these containers can just be clicked into. And after clicking into it, we'll scroll down and we'll choose edit. And you'll notice at the very end of edit, we have some fields here. We have a syslog driver, and this is where we can actually tell the container to ship logs to a specific destination. In our instance, we're going to have this container shipping logs to our gray log instance, which is running on port 1514. But if we wanted to change the volumes we had mounted or mapped to the container, we could do it here. You could change environment variables, you could change labels, restart policy, all the regular stuff you could do in Docker, or you would need to do in Docker to manage a container, you could do with portainer from a nice user interface. Let's walk through one of the really cool use cases of portainer. I have a Vault Warden container here, and what I'd like to do is ship the logs of this container to my gray log instance. What I can do is go into portainer, click edit, scroll down, choose my log driver, which in this case is going to be syslog, and then I can add some options. You kind of saw this running already in one of my previous containers, but we'll actually set this up here. You kind of saw this running already a few minutes ago, but we'll set this up here. What you can do is set a syslog, a tag, and a syslog format. And then for the syslog address, you can set your syslog server, which is actually another container on this host. You can set your tag, which is this container name and container ID. Then you can set a syslog format, which is RFC 5424. And then you can just hit deploy on this container and replace. And you give it a few minutes. Now, if you were to go back into your log tracking server, let's refresh the page, set it to update every second, and we should see the logs for that container as it boots up. So let's see. But the convenient thing is we can actually look at the logs directly. It says rocket is launched from port 80. So we just have to wait a few more moments, right? It's taking a while for it to start up. We'll be back in a few minutes and see what happens. So we're back, and it looks like the log server is now getting logs from the Vault Warden server that we configured, and Vault Warden is spun up. And if we look, our Vault Warden container is spun up. The cool thing is we can look at the container logs, and you can see just regular traffic from us trying to log into the web page. So that is basically one of the main advantages of Docker and Portainer. If you'd like me to walk through how to install Portainer, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. I might do a video regardless, just because I think this is some cool tech. It's let me consolidate like 11 virtual machines and containers into one location. Once again, look at all this. And if I need to modify it, I just go into that specific container and I can edit the container properties as I need to. And that's basically it, boys. Some things to think about, you might want to consider getting Docker and Portainer spun up in your home lab and messing around with it just to see how it works. One of my favorite features of Docker so far is Docker Compose. Some shorts coming about Docker, some shorts coming your way about Docker Compose and how that all works and why it's so cool. You can basically build an entire stack from one file and turn your infrastructure into code. Some weird wizardry here, boys. If that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned. We're going to be covering more technology subjects, branching out a little bit more. By moving to Docker and kind of infrastructure as a code setup, you can save a lot of time building infrastructure and more fit. You get to spend more time focusing on the technology itself and how they interact with each other. So it is something worth considering. If you enjoy this content, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Stay blessed, boys.